Hey everyone, and welcome to the results announcement video of our second wooden coaster contest. Now, in this contest, obviously all the players had to build a wooden coaster. We got some really nice entries. We got 19 of them. I will start with the entry that got last place, and I'll finish by announcing who is the winner of this round. Alright, in last place you have this entry from 737373. Well, yeah, I think it's a really unique entry. I mean, this is this must have taken quite a while, this constructing all this stuff here in this map. I mean, this is just enormous. All the amount of stuff that he was able to cram into this map. So it looks very impressive, especially when you zoom out. When you zoom in, however, you will probably see some flaws. Well, this is a wooden coaster contest, obviously. And yeah, the wooden coaster that's in this map, it's just a little bit strange. It's a very unconventional layout. Not that that is bad per se, but yeah, there seems to be pieces of track missing here, and it just doesn't really make a lot of sense what's happening here. It just seems a little bit random. And also the speed of the coaster in this part that is visible is just really high, and it just looks like a really uncomfortable ride for the guests. But yeah, like I said, it is at least a very unique entry. It's not often that you see something like this. Alright, then next up is the entry from the Claude QC. Now, I had to remove something from the sky here, which was slightly offensive. So the people who download this entry early may have seen it. But yeah, that's really something you should not put in your entries. Anyway, here we have this wooden coaster. Quite an unconventional layout once again. Yeah, the story said something about, I believe it said this used to be a hybrid coaster, then it was converted to a Woodie or something like that. You can still see some hybrid coaster track here. So this is Erica, and this is older Erica. I believe something like that was the story. No, I don't think we've seen a conversion from RMC to actual wooden coaster in the world yet, but who knows, it might happen. Quite unlikely, but never say never. Okay, the layout of the coaster starts with a triple down, then a double up, and then here there's a brake section, a very tight turn. I don't really know why. This just kills all momentum of the ride. Then here there's some more hills in diagonal section. And then here it goes back, and then here it returns back to the station. And there's also a path crossing here, just like at Glass Action Mega Park. So yeah, not really sure what to think of the coaster. It does have some supports here. I think it would have looked really nice if it had some footers in place. Now, for the rest of the park, the scenery, it looks quite basic, mostly just trees. For these queue lines, they're just completely stacked with TVs. I don't think that really looks nice. I mean, maybe it will keep the guests a bit more patient while waiting for the waiting in the queue. But I definitely don't recommend making your queues like this. I don't really think it looks nice. So yeah, overall, I think it's quite a fun park. Some funny rides in the park as well. Yeah, I think it definitely could have been much nicer with some more details instead of trees. Alright, next up is the entry from Zero-T. So yeah, he made this wooden coaster here with this castle station. Now the layout of the coaster quite basic. So here we have the station of the ride. Then there's a long straight section before it ends up at the chain lift here. After that it travels through this big knot here. I actually quite like how this turnaround looks. And after that it goes through this double down here. Here's some more drops under the station here, and then here it returns back to the station. So yeah, kind of an unconventional layout again. But yeah, that's not that doesn't immediately mean that it's bad. I quite like the knot here, like I already said. The layout is quite alright, I think. I think why most people voted a little bit lower for this park is mostly that the landscape mostly just consists of hills, trees, some bushes, etc. Definitely would have been more impressive with some more park or more decoration here, or maybe even some nicer landscaping, something really to steal the show. But right now it just looks like this part isn't really important. But yeah, still it's nice to see GRT enter one of my contests again. Alright, next entry is from Young Wee. He made this wooden coaster here, this brown and yellow color. I believe this is one of the default colors, not sure. As for this coaster, something which I immediately noticed were these supports, which are situated along the lift hill like these. I think it will look much nicer if your supports follow the height of the lift hill a little bit. I think that will just make it look a little bit nicer rather than having them sitting next to each other like this. Overall, I think the layout of the wooden coaster is quite alright. It has a nice, there's some nice double ups, stuff like that. So definitely has some nice airtime moments. Now the trains for this coaster do feel a little bit long. I mean these six-seater vehicles are already quite long. So if you then also have 6 of these cars situated after one another, it probably would have been nicer with 4 or 5 cars. But that's just simply how I would have done it. It's nice that Young Wee put some supports next to the coaster in the higher parts. I think with footers under the coaster it would have looked even nicer. When you build these coasters, I typically recommend against putting long sloped straight sections. It's much nicer to make your coaster look a little bit more flowy, like done over here. I think these sections especially look much nicer. As for the rest of the rides, we have some really nice examples on how you can actually decorate your other rides. We also have examples for launched freefalls, and I definitely recommend taking a look at it. With some simple scenery, you can also make these rides look incredible. So it might be something to keep in mind for next contest. So yeah, I think it's a nice entry from Young Wee. Okay, next entry is from Dersunger Thirdtooth, and they actually made these dual-link coasters. Now, I think these coasters do look quite impressive here in the landscape. I also like that they made footers for the coaster. I think having footers on a wooden coaster already immediately improves how they look. As for the layout of the coaster, well, these coasters are dual-link. These trains are actually look a little bit on the short side. But I saw some comments from people who commented on that. Even though they're dual-link coasters, right over here already in this first section, they kind of lose. They lose sight of each other, because in this high part the coaster is much slower than in this part. So that's why this track, the car on this track actually races ahead far more right in the beginning. So I think it's much nicer if the trains stay close to each other. I've actually made a tutorial on how to make good dual-link coasters, so that might be something to check out. As for the rest of the layout, quite a few unbanked turns. Now, unbanked turns by themselves are not a bad thing to have, but in some sections where the coaster cars are going quite fast, for example over here, it might be something to watch out for. As for the rest of the map, I saw some comments on this coaster over here especially. It's Raptor Attack. It's one of these inverted impulse coasters. So some people commented on the huge supports that were made around it to support it. yeah, when you make supports for a coaster, generally it will look much nicer if the supports are more slender. So putting a huge support around it like this is probably something to be wary of. Especially since this coaster now looks like it has almost 4 different kinds of supports. So there's this big tower over here. There's this huge support going over it. There's these brown beams, these vertical ones, and there's diagonal brown beams. I think all in all that's just a little bit too many different kinds of supports. Alright, next up is the entry from Ace Trainer Lee Wang. He made this really cool Yeti on top of the mountain. It's so fun to look at. I really like how it's done. Although sadly it only really works from one angle. Because for example at this angle the face looks a little bit warped and you can see the teeth are actually right in front of it. So it's a little bit sad, but from this angle it looks really cool. I also like that this coaster actually has a backwards section. So the coaster races up this hill, stops right before the Yeti, and then it goes backwards again into this mountain. Now, I think you should always be a little bit careful with having huge sections of your coaster underground, because it does make them quite difficult to follow. Actually has a big helix underground here. Yeah, like I said, quite difficult to follow coasters that go underground, especially if they stay underground for extended periods of time. I always like to keep my underground sections of coasters as short as possible. Now, as for the rest of the coasters, there are some supports over here, right next to the track, but in other sections of the track there aren't really a lot of extra supports. There are also no footers, although that is really difficult to do in a very hilly landscape. The part that I do quite like is the foliage in this section. I quite like the colors over here. Okay, nice entry from Ace Trainer Lee Wang. Alright, here's the entry from Solaris. He made this wooden coaster in this hilly landscape. Now here's the station of the coaster. The train leaves the station here. I think it's a good idea to actually, when you don't immediately start from the chain lift, to actually have a little drop in the beginning to give the coaster some speed. It's what most real roller coasters do if they have to traverse some track to actually get to the lift hill. Because right now it's actually a little bit on the slow side here on its way to the station. I think the layout of the coaster is actually quite nice. There's a nice assortment of hills here of different shapes, and definitely has some nice airtime moments in here as well. Again, I do kind of recommend not having too many of these long straight sloped sections, but rather flowy sections look much nicer, like the hill that we have over here. The houses here also, I think they're quite nice. Yeah, it's always nice to use a few of these pieces that you see over here, just to give the building some depth. I also quite like the foliage and around here, for example, these flowers on the side of the path with these nice trees here in the middle. I think that's done quite nicely. Now, something else which I saw on the map is this chairlift here. It's fun to have a chairlift on the side of your map. It may have a little bit too many of these vehicles, though. It does look a little bit on the crowded side. But yeah, overall, quite a nice map. Alright, next up is the entry from Whistling Corsair. Now, it's quite clear to me that he watched my Mount Duckling series, because I see quite a few rides which resemble it. So that's always fun to see. We have the Husky Tours ride here. There's a train going around the map. You can see these dinghy slides sliding down the mountain. And of course, it's a beautiful Woodie here as well. Now, what I really like about this wooden coaster is the way these supports are done. This support structure especially for the lift hill, I think it looks really nice. And also these following hills, I think they're also supported in a really nice way. So nice interaction with this other coaster here as well. Yeah, I must say I really like the layout of this coaster. So this turnaround, I think it's supported in a really nice way. Now, I would have liked to see some footers for this coaster as well, but I think this is already a great step in the right direction. I think the wooden coaster itself looks great. So yeah, some other nice rides as well. Oh yeah, I didn't point out this Ski-Doo dot jumps ride earlier. It's also something which I had in the Mount Dirklink. It might be nice to actually give your rides a name. That will definitely help immerse the viewers into your park. Quite a lot of these rides don't have names, so I think that's something that can easily improve your park. But yeah, overall, I think this is quite a nice map, especially this wooden coaster. I think it looks really nice. Alright, next entry is from Dark Raider. He made this dueling coaster. Well, it's actually a Möbius coaster with one station. So in other words, I believe every train actually does 2 laps. So it actually does both tracks of the coaster before it returns back to the station. Now, I think he synchronized them really well using these block brakes that are over here. You can see these trains follow each other really well here on the lift hill. Also, yeah, down the first drop, well, obviously one gets ahead a bit of the other, but yeah, I like that they cross each other over here in the helix. Sadly, they do lose track of each other right at this moment, and that's probably because one of these trains returns back to the station here, and the other one is ready to go on the second track and duel with the other coaster. Yeah, I think for the layout of the coaster, I think it would have been nice if these trains dueled with each other for a bit longer. Of course, already this coaster takes up a lot of space in the park, so maybe it was a little bit difficult to actually make them duel for a longer period of time. But it would have been nice to see, I think. Now, I think the coaster is supported in a really nice way. This support structure looks quite nice in many spots of the coaster. Also, I like that he put footers here. I think that's always nice to see. Now, as for the rest of the park, yeah, it does look a little bit the same, and with that I mean mostly the fences around the park. It looks the fences, especially here, look a little bit jagged. Yeah, it's all a bit straight. So maybe it would look nice to try and get in some curved fences using some coaster track. Might be something nice to practice. Also for the queue of the coaster, this sand path is used. I think it looks nicer to use some actual path here instead of just this sand floor. I think for a queue that just works a little bit better. But yeah, overall, I think Dark Raider did a really nice job here. And it's really nice to see these coasters duel with each other each time here in the first half of each track. Alright, next entry is from Colorblind Unicorn. Now here once again we see a dueling wooden coaster. Yeah, you can see them drop down here. Now I think they duel really nicely. It's nice to see them cross each other here in this downwards slope. Again, they pass each other in this helix, just kind of like we saw in the previous entry. And it looks like this is another one of these Möbius entries. We can see a coaster wait here using these block brakes. And here the next train is also waiting. And we can see it leave the station here. So I think it's fun that we have 2 of these Möbius entries right after each other. What I find quite clever is how Colorblind Unicorn actually put the track here a little bit lower in the wider turn, just to make sure that these coasters drop down the hill at the same moment. So it's an easy trick to keep coasters synchronized. When you make the track a little bit lower, it means the train is going faster there, and that allows them to stay synced up, even though this one travels a bit less in the tighter turn. But yeah, I think it's great dueling. Also some nice support here around the coaster. Footers done as well, which is always nice. Also some other rides here in the map. The biggest complaint that I saw from some people is that the colors blend in a little bit. Very brown and green here. And here there's just trees between the coaster. Maybe it would have been nice with some more decorations in here. Maybe some more interesting landscape. Maybe some rocks sticking out. Something like that. I think that would have made it look more interesting. But yeah, overall, I think this is a great entry and a great coaster as well. Alright, the next entry is from NFV and The Shack. Now, first off, I love all these buildings here. I think they look great, and I also really like the way this suspended monorail comes out of them. And also really like how it passes under this aqueduct here. Yeah, that's just some great interaction. And of course, there's also a wooden coaster over here. Now, to be honest, wooden coaster, not really special. Of course, I do really like that it has footers, of course. It also has some nice supports here and there. Some nice decorations as well. We can see some steel braces here with this bridge. I also quite like these pieces of wooden wild mouse track for the coaster. That's quite nice. But other than that, yeah, the layout doesn't really strike me as anything special. I think it would have been nice, for example, if it did a little bit more curves, something like that. Or maybe it would have been nice if, like most Woodies, the tracks would have been more close together next to each other. Because that's typically more what wooden coasters tend to do, mostly to save material. But yeah, I think when you do it like that, it just looks a little bit nicer. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad Woody. I actually think it's quite a good wooden coaster. Now, there's also some other nice rides as well. You can see a pair of drop towers here. You can also see this crazy ride here. It's called Gravitron. Probably meant to represent the ride that you also have in RCT3. So kind of like a thing where guests can sit and gravity pushes them outwards, something like that. You can see a custom carousel over here. And here's another ride with planes that swing outwards as they travel around this track here. So yeah, quite some nice rides in this entry. And probably my favorite part in this entry was simply this outside part of the park here with all these gardens and this nice foliage. So yeah, I think this is a really nice entry from NFV and The Shack. Alright, this entry is from Boyce Cotton. Now, I really like this coaster layout. There's a nice support and footers as well. So you can see the coaster leave the station here. Here it drops down. Now, the first drop doesn't go all the way to the bottom. Here's a really nice looking hill. And then over here it has this diagonal section. Nice turnaround here as well. And over here it does another turnaround passing through the track that it went through earlier. And a little tunnel here. Here's a little section over the water. Not really a big fan of these supports. They look a little bit bulky, but it does work, I think. And somewhere over here it returns back to the station while it passes over the path here. Now, I quite enjoyed this wooden coaster. I think it has nice supports, nice footers. There's also some other nice things here in the map. I quite like these buildings that were made here. It's a nice variety of buildings. Station also looks quite nice. You can see a little merry-go-round here, a little seating area. Yeah, when you have an opening in your building like this, I think it will look nicer to actually make a little door in it. So let's, for example, you could just do like this. If you disable clearance checks, and then with the tile inspector you can open the door. You can also use portcullis doors for this, but yeah, I think this is a nicer way to make openings in your buildings for the guests to pass through. Yeah, overall, I really like this entry. It just has a great coaster, great landscaping, buildings. I especially like the edge around the map as well. That's also some really nicely done landscaping here. Great work. Alright, next entry is from Carp Runner. Now, I think his wooden coaster looks really nice. Actually has a double down in the first drop. It's not something you see very often. And generally, I think it has a nice layout. It just flows pretty well, I think. It's nice and curvy. Also has some weird banked sections, like over here. Also some interesting support work for the coaster. You can see these footers and these poles right next to the coaster in a different color. Not really sure what that's supposed to represent. Maybe it's metal, because we do also see some metal braces over here. But for sure it does make the coaster quite unique. Now, landscaping, I think it's also done quite nicely. You can see this red rock here, but also with these canyon pieces over here. Still with some foliage on top. We can also see Mr. Bones right under the coaster here. Also some more of this nice landscaping here, especially for this junior coaster. I really like the way it was done here with this fence around it. I'm always a big fan of these coasters, which have a lot of path around them, but with a wall and landscape around them. Same as was done over here. I think that just looks really nice. Now, I think this entry does suffer a bit from seas of path. So basically just really wide sections of path. Yeah, especially over here. It just looks a little bit excessive, I think. So it's over here. It probably would have been better to break it up a little bit more. But still, overall, I think this is a wonderful entry from Carp Runner. Alright, here's the entry from Lurker. Now, a Lurker made this beautiful coaster, also in a beautiful landscape. It's a layout unlike any other layouts in the contest. So I believe over here is the station over the coaster. It's right over here in the middle, and goes up with a lift hill here. There's a right-hand turn, and then it passes through this loop twice before it returns back to the station. Now it does have a bit of left-hand turn syndrome. There's only a few right-hand turns in this layout, so maybe it would be nice to have a turnaround somewhere and then go in the other direction. But yeah, that's just a nitpick. I think this coaster actually does look really nice, and I think the color scheme also works really well here. Now, I really like the way Lurker did these houses here, kind of like in a Roman style. Well, yeah, there's actually several different themed areas. So this area here has several castles. Over here we have the Roman theme in the middle. And here there's what actually looks like a candy land theme. And over here there's another different theme. This looks more like a jungle or like a swamp. So yeah, I really like how Lurker themed all these different areas. All of these areas are really nice to look at. It's always so charming to see whatever Lurker builds. He always puts lots of different little buildings in his entries. I think it's Lurker's parks are great parks to take inspiration from. So yeah, wonderful entry from Lurker. Alright, next entry is from Hobion. Yeah, he made this big wooden coaster in this wintry landscape. It's actually quite a nice color scheme, I think. So the coaster goes up the lift hill, drops down, goes into this spiral, and then here it goes underground. Now, like I always say, I generally try to keep my underground sections as short as possible. But what I do really like about how Hobion did this entry here is that he actually tried to make it look like there's icicles here in these underground sections. That's just so fun to watch. He did the same over here using these cutouts. Now, there's actually a trick you can do to make it look like to make a cutout in the land. It's quite tricky to do. It involves making tiles invisible, but when you get it to work, it can make for some really nice caves. And Hobion just did it so incredibly well. And I love these icicles or stalactites hanging down. It's just so nicely done. Now the coaster layout's also nice and flowy throughout the entry. I love these curves that the coaster makes here. Now the underground sections do make it a little bit difficult to follow around sometimes. But yeah, I think Hobion did a wonderful job here. What I also really like is how he actually put RMC track right under his wooden coaster track. And yeah, that just gives it a really nice support structure. Also with these steel beams right under the track here. He actually did the same for his bobsleigh coaster over here. Yeah, I think Hobion did a really nice job over here. Although everything in the park does have a bit, the same colors. Maybe it would have been nice to use some different colors here and there. A little bit more than was done now. But yeah, overall, a wonderful entry from Hobion. I really enjoyed this park. Alright, this next entry is from Hex. Now, he again also made a wonderful coaster. I especially love the station of this ride. I think the station looks incredible. I love the structure of the station with all these different layers of fences. And the roofs, they also look incredible. I also really like the flags that were put along the chain lift. That's always a nice trick to use. Now, also this drop tower right here in the middle. I think it looks incredible. I especially love these walls that were put here to surround it. But also this pattern on the floor. It's probably one of the best looking drop towers I've seen anyone make. And the location for the ride is also really great. This coaster just has beautiful supports throughout the ride. Although they probably could have been a little bit more bulky, especially in sections like these where the track is quite high. Probably would have been nice to have some support here on the side, just to make it look a little bit more supported. But still, incredible landscaping throughout the entry. Love these waterfalls over here. Also the log flume, I think it looks incredible. Especially love this drop down, down below the coaster structure here and below the bridge. Bridge also looks amazing. Love the support work for it. There's just so much detail throughout the entry. So there's a bridge here which the coaster passes under. Although it does look like the coaster clips through the netting of the bridge here a little bit. I do really like the way that Hex did the netting for the bridge. That's a really neat detail. I think this is a great, great coaster. Great landscaping in this entry, especially this section over here with the go-kart track and the log flume passing right over it. That's also really fun to watch. Also with these paths around it with these beautiful fences. Yeah, this is just super nice work from Hex. Alright, there's just 3 entries remaining now. I will first show all 3 of them, and after that I will reveal which one is the winner of this round. Alright, this entry is from Ovenwood. He has a really nice American flag, although he put the pole on the wrong side. It's a beautiful park. I already immediately like the atmosphere, all the different colors used in this map. It's such a nice color combination, nice and warm color palette used here. Now the coaster itself, I think it has a really nice layout. You can see this diagonal lift hill here. It's something that Ovenwood really likes to do. And it just makes for a really impressive coasters when you do that. Also the support work for it. Ovenwood actually used RMC track here to make the supports for this coaster in some sections. I think that looks incredible, especially for example in this section here. You can even get away with some curves in the supports like were done here. Yeah, very impressive looking supports for the coaster. Also footers done throughout the entry. Although he was able to hide them in a lot of spots by just surrounding them with foliage. It's also something I really like to do when I'm too lazy to make supports in a section. The layout of the coaster really nice. I like how it drops down over here, then it pops up again after passing under a bridge, with the bridge, which look really nice by the way. And it goes through this helix here, and then it passes under the bridge again. And here it pops up, and here pass under the bridge again. Yeah, it's just a really cool looking layout, and I really like how it snakes through the landscape here. The landscape, I think it looks incredible. Especially love this waterfall that Ovenwood made here in between all this foliage. And probably something which I like the most in this entry is this pair of slides here. This one actually looks like an elephant, and this one looks like probably a tiger. Yeah, and I like all the different scenery piece that Ovenwood used to make it. It's actually recolored bushes. Here for the elephant, it's more track pieces that were used. Yeah, just a very creative entry from Ovenwood. By the way, if you want to check out these entries for yourself, you can download them from my Discord server. You can find them in the contest archive. So you just search for this contest and then you can download all the entries. Discord is completely free, so you don't have to worry about that. Alright, let's move on to the next entry. Right, here we have the entry from Darkoro and Old School, the Scottish team. Now already from the start, a beautiful station over here. I really like the station structure. And from here it drops down into this helix. I really like the usage of all these different kinds of track here to make these supports for the helix. They look really nice. Now, in general, the supports for this coaster look great, especially in this section here. The supports follow the structure of the coaster a little bit more than the earlier one that I complained about. I actually like that it looks a bit staggered here. That's probably just done to make it a little bit more steep. And actually RMC track is used again here for the supports, which I think works really well. I also really like the way these footers are done here. And again surrounded with beautiful foliage as well. Now the support work continues here in the diagonal direction, and I think it looks incredible. Now something which I really like for this coaster is this little bunny hop that's actually done in two directions. I think it's a great way to cross over this river, and definitely gives some nice interaction with the river rapids ride. Now here the coaster continues, and just throughout the coaster track we see all these beautiful supports and the great landscaping. Yeah, Darkoro and Old School can be really proud of what they've put together here. I think it looks amazing. River Rapids ride also looks really nice, especially in this section here with all the rock work around it, and also all these barrels. Although in this section over here they just stopped decorating it a bit more for some reason. Maybe just to emphasize more that it's running on this river. But yeah, probably would have made the ride more interesting if there was also something to see over here. But yeah, this is just an incredible entry. My favorite part of the coaster is actually this helix over here. This is such nice path interaction, where you see the guests actually passing over the track here. They are actually in the middle of the helix over here. This is just such cool interaction. Yeah, wonderful entry from Darkoro and Old School. Alright, and here we have the final entry. This one's from Milpia and Raymondel. Now, the first time I saw this entry, I was just blown away by it. This map just looks so incredible. It's just so full of cool details. It looks very steampunky. Especially this clock here. That's just so amazing. You can see this Ferris wheel with these coaster cars rotating around it in different directions. The water flowing here, all these cog wheels, and then the coaster passing right under it. That's just so nicely done. This just screams Milpia. Yeah, this is so creative, and I love all the buildings over here, all the little details. It's just incredible. And they even did footers in their wooden flooring. Yeah, also all these this machinery here. They also made great usage of these recolorable pieces here. It's actually quite nice to see some color difference in these. Now the details over here are great. Also love these power lines, all these different bridges. Yeah, there's just so much movement in this map. It's just so incredibly fun to watch. Now, even though this map looks incredibly cool, I thought the layout of the wooden coaster was a bit tame in comparison. It just snakes through this entry a little bit. It does have some, does have a nice, it does pass through all this scenery quite nicely. It has some great interaction, but the coaster does feel a little bit slow for a wooden coaster. So it just passes through this entry in quite a slow fashion, which makes it look a little bit too tame for me, probably. But yeah, like I said, this is such an incredible entry to look at, and it's definitely an entry I will come back to often if I need any inspiration for a steampunk theme. There's just so much cool stuff to see here. So yeah, like I said, download this entry for yourself and go check it out. You can probably spend quite some time looking at all the different parts of this entry, and you'll probably still discover new things every time you look at it. Alright, and now it's time to reveal who is the winner of this of the second wooden coaster contest. Is it Ovenwood? Is it Darkoro and Old School? Or is it Milpia and Raymondel? And the winner of the second wooden coaster contest is... Ovenwood. Now again, these scores were quite close, but Ovenwood takes the win in this round once again. A beautiful entry from Ovenwood. It's nice to see a solo entry from him again. But yeah, this goes to show how good he is at this game. It's just incredible what he puts together every time, and yeah, it's just wonderful to look at. Especially all the animal sculpture that he put together here. Again, the scores were quite close. So yeah, there were quite some very amazing entries in this round. I love to see all your wooden coaster creations. And I want to really thank everybody who joined in this contest. Also the newer players. Something which I always really enjoy is to watch newer players get really good at this game. Alright, well yeah, those were all the entries. I hope you enjoyed watching all of them. We'll start a new contest tonight. If you want to join one of these contests, simply become a member on my Discord server, and there everything is explained. Alright, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you liked it, please consider giving it a like. It would make me really happy and it would really help out my channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.